Happy birthday, America! I low-key love this country because everyone can just follow their American dream, right? Like my grandfather came over from Mexico so that I would have the chance to live my dream of being a doctor eating sushi from Del Taco, right? And I should know better, right? I should be dead, but I just love fusion, right? And that's the type of freedom you can only get in America. You know, this used to be a great country. You know, 4th of July used to mean something, so I want to talk about back when America was great, which happened to be when I was a kid. Funny how that works out. So, my Mexican-American dad, he used to work at the family grocery store. And when he got older, his dad, my grandfather, helped him build some fireworks stands so that he could have his own job, which meant that growing up, every 4th of July, my dad would open the back of a semi-truck, and all the leftover fireworks, my brother and I could explode as much as we wanted, right? Forget about bald eagles. The most powerful symbol of this country is children playing with explosives. It's as wholesome and American as apple pie. But I have to say, for Mexicans, the 4th of July, it is still a little bittersweet. Let me explain. My grandfather was an undocumented immigrant. And at the time, the president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, didn't want Mexicans around. So he created Operation Wetback. Because Trump wasn't the first president to say the quiet part out loud. And when I was growing up, it was Operation Hold the Line, created by Democrats and cigar aficionado Bill Clinton. And now we have ISIS raids with Trump. Excuse me, ICE raids with Trump. I get them confused because they wear the same uniform. You know, it just turns out that blaming Mexicans for everything is as American as slavery. Yeah. And that's why we have a saying, Mexicans say, Pobre México, tan lejos de Dios y tan cerca de los Estados Unidos, which means poor Mexico, how far from God and how close to the United States. Or, as the Native Americans have said since the birth of the nation, oh shit! But don't worry, America, it's going to be all white. The president's going to make sure that it's all white. You know, and we're laughing, and that makes me feel a little better. You know, because laughter is the best medicine, right? It really is. No, I'm just kidding, it's Ozempic. Ozempic is the best medicine, right? Because it has a little side effect, it makes you lose weight. You know, and that's why it's a new Viagra. Because men used to take Viagra to get their dicks up, and women use Ozempic to bring the scale down, right? And I know men use Ozempic also. You know, and it's an unfair double standard, but you can be fat, you can be a fat man in America, and you can still do whatever you want, right? Just look at our president. Jabba the Hutt, with his immigrant princess he's got on a chain. You know? Yeah. You know, when Viagra came out, people said it wasn't fair, you know, it's not natural to use a pill to get an erection, you gotta do it the natural way. Like RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health. Right? He said you gotta do it the natural way like he does and go to Epstein's Island. Yeah. Yes, he did. And with Ozempic, they say the same thing, right? It's cheating to lose weight taking a pill. And besides, if you lose weight taking a pill, how are we supposed to know which women to hate? Yeah. But you know what? It's 2026. I think we can think bigger than hating fat women. I think after 250 years, Americans should be able to come together, you know, despite our differences, and find a way to work together to hate all women. Yeah. It's hard to say, but hating women is as American as blaming Mexicans. Let me give you an example. So I'm a doctor, I had a patient. She was distracted while she was calling the police on a black man who was playing with his son, and so she fell off the curb, broke her ankle. She gained 20 pounds, so she came to see me about Ozempic. And I said, well, you know, your insurance isn't going to cover it, and then I Mexi-mansplained to her. I said, but you know what? You can be healthy at any size, so why don't we just focus on your health? She rolled her eyes at me and she said, you know what, I have cash, so just get the Ozempic, okay? So I'm giving her the shot, and she says, well, how does it work? And I said, oh, well, Ozempic, it takes your natural satiety response and it boosts it. Kind of like a vaccine takes your natural immunity and it boosts it, right? And I give her the shot and I realize that she's due for a vaccine, for a tetanus booster. And I say, while you're here, you want to get your tetanus. She said, how dare you try to push that poison on me? Right? You're some kind of shill for big pharma. In fact, Dr. Rodriguez or whatever, I think I'm going to call ICE and see if you're even supposed to be here. Yeah, pretty bad. But you know what? It's too easy to hate each other right now. That's the problem with empire, right? The problem with empire is that you always have to be pushing other people down to keep yourself on top. But in medicine, we're about alleviating suffering. And that means that nobody is beyond our care, right? We got to care for everyone, even cunts. Thank you, America. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.